this video, what I want to do is I'm just sort of walking around and having strong thoughts is show you or chime into what type of content is exploding right now. So I can't really speak for YouTube per se, but even though it's one of my favorite platforms to consume and create on, I can speak from the lens of LinkedIn, where I've just crossed over 50,000 followers in the last 2 years and understand content marketing from that sort of angle of more of a writer, more of a content marketer. And I believe the principles are true because I've had a lifetime of studying algorithms and ghostwriting for people at an agency I owned over the last 9 years. And we grew and worked with some of the biggest names and had, projects like EA Sports and things like that, and startups that raised millions. So content has always been something that I truly love and I embrace and I speak openly about. And my own business is at this intersection of offers, funnels, and content marketing, right? Like I talk a lot about the one post a day business. And once you set up your funnel and you have an offer, you can then show up and post once a day. And the reason why my growth sort of exploded over the last year, but not just explode, get clients as well and be able to sort of create opportunities for me. I wasn't the type of person who would basically write to go viral, right? And I did try that and it just felt so inauthentic to, especially on LinkedIn, follow those trends with the career-driven hooks and the toxic workplaces, and obviously LinkedIn being that social media platform that is rooted in sort of CVs and hiring and all of that stuff. Anything of that nature and thought leadership would just explode. I took it more so from an authentic angle, from a way of expression. As a writer, I don't do any fancy design or any of that. I just like text posts and, have a photo underneath it and whatnot. But what I'm seeing on LinkedIn and what I'm also seeing on platforms like YouTube is people showing up raw, just like me, sort of walking around this neighborhood near my place, unedited, raw thoughts because you've experienced something is absolutely crushing. And the same is true on LinkedIn. Like I remember, and people that I'm friends with and people that I, content I consume who've got hundreds of thousands of followers on LinkedIn have always said you got to format it correctly. It's got to look like this and that. And I always shied away from formatting and hooks and, structure and just focused on expression. And whether I knew this indirectly or directly, that worked in my favor this year because I just embraced the messy middle. And the best content strategy you can have, or what I'm seeing exploding, is you already have insight from doing something amazing. All you have to go and do is go back, collect it, and document it, right? And there's so much stuff in your head that you can talk about. You just haven't expressed it, which will make your account grow. And I've seen so many creators, specifically on LinkedIn, but also on YouTube, just by scrolling, right? People just talk about, I don't know, how much wealth they've accumulated or buying property. Or I've even seen a dude with a massive beard, no thumbnails, no nothing. He just sort of does these Pepsi experiments in his bedroom and talks about it. And every episode he's doing some wacky thing like that. And he's getting millions of views, growing his account in the hundreds of thousands per week, per month, and so on and so forth. And for me, it was exactly the same experience on LinkedIn, where all I truly did was I basically did cool stuff. I thought of myself as a mad scientist. And I came and I documented the good, the bad, and the ugly. And some of my posts went from like 50, 60 likes to 200, 300, 400 likes. But in the past, when I would get like 1,000 likes, I would get no clients. So as soon as I saw this pattern, my hooks changed from like how to do this and how to do that to literally yesterday I did this thing, or last week I did this thing and it worked, or a month ago I tested some experiment that basically flopped. And I would talk about the flop, or like standard in my world, I come from an organic or email marketing background. Every time I test ads, I absolutely suck at them, right? So I would just talk about how my ads sucked, and people would come below and be like, man, when are you launching like a paid ads course? Like, you don't want to learn from me, but it comes from actually documenting the messy middle and being really authentic about it. So like, I'm not gonna lie to you if my ads didn't work or if my content's doing good. I would just talk towards it and express why I think it worked or what resonated, and literally just screenshot the raw data, right? And some of the things that I'm known for on LinkedIn is literally my Thrivecart dashboards, because I love low ticket funnels and things like that, and the way that writing gives you leverage when you do learn how to point it towards these little funnels. All I do is like, hey, I ran this campaign, this is what I did, and so on and so forth. And people just look at that, they look at the numbers and they're like, this is real, this is true. Or the other day I spoke about a flop where I took my Google Doc offer, I usually sell in docs without the sales calls, and I put it in a Notion and I recorded a video on top, which was so unusual of me because I usually sell with Arial font in a doc. And I had like 57 people reply and I didn't get any sales, which in my world was not normal. And I spoke to that and then I figured out why. So I basically put it back in a doc and had a pretty good Black Friday week. But what I'm saying is, when it flopped, I documented it. When I came out of the woods, I documented it. And when I see people like that, I get really fascinated. Because, for example, with me, I'm getting into a little bit more of some gardening here. We planted a pomelo tree. I think it's a Malaysian fruit, if I'm not mistaken. And when I look at people, like, they have YouTube channels talking about pomelo trees or talking about gardening, and they're absolutely crushing it. Then the algorithm sort of recommends other things, and I'm like, it gets to be so simple. And the reason why I think this content is slapping, speaking from a LinkedIn lens, which I think also applies to YouTube, is because people are tired of this AI slop. They're tired of this perfect content, right? There's so much average shit coming out that people just crave a little bit of real human flesh. They crave the ahs and the oohs and the thought processes. So you could pretty much Google how to plant a pomelo tree, right? And I can see the steps, or I can ask AI. But watching the dude on YouTube who's done it and talking about that messy middle just sounds so much funner to consume, and is so much funner to consume. And that is what I am drawn to personally. Or the lady who's creating an investment portfolio in South Africa. Or, you know, right now we also purchased a house recently, so I was exploring that sort of market and getting it straight out of people who, and the videos that I was seeing, I should have found them, but I chose to do this walking this way, were literally them standing by the beach or standing by a window or in their living room. You know, some of them were even done with a laptop camera, just raw, or an iPhone, and it was just uploaded that way. And I'm sensing this shift because people are tired of the AI slop, because they want something more real. So it's almost like embracing the beginnings of YouTube, or the beginnings of content where vlogging was really popular back in the day, and you just wanted to follow people's opinions. So as I go in to explore my own content strategy in the way that I'm going to be growing, I'm going to be building my little, let's say, quiet marketing systems and my modern maker business through this type of content. uploading it straight, doing it more frequent. And at the end of the day, I believe there's resonance and relevance. And if you do want to watch a step-by-step guide, obviously there is something there. But resonance is when people see other people. They resonate with who you are outside of your job or your role, or what you have to say, as you experience it. And funnily enough, my wife always said, like, because we had a baby, she was like, I always used to think the baby's in the background, therefore don't upload. She always says that's you being authentic, right? Like, allow it. And I've posted pictures where the best comments were that, or so on and so forth in this realm. Think about what you know, do some really cool stuff, and then basically go back and collect it and provide the insight. Because in this AI-driven world, there is no shortage of information, but there is a shortage of human insight. And I believe we are in the market as content creators for insight. And people are so hungry for that, because you either build a personal brand, or you show up and you write on behalf of your company. Whatever that may be, when we're looking at personal brand-led content, the winners are going to be the people who do cool stuff, show up, raw, authentic, and express their opinion. So I want to leave it at that today, and hopefully there's something that inspires you to go and create something raw, and be yourself and see what happens. So if anything resonated, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and I'd love to hear from you.